Hello. Welcome back to Becky Forces Herself to Read. Read, Becky, read. Oh, I saw that I say a lot, so I'm going to try and curb that. So, Aristotle and Dante. Again, okay, so now I am about 80 pages in with all the books. And Aristotle and Dante, it's fine. It's, I think, a bit too simplistic for me, the writing style. I think that's what I meant by middle grade, so not necessary. It's, you know, I'm sure it's appropriately in its right genre of YA. But it's still it's just too simple. But that doesn't mean I'm kind of not enjoying it, but I kind of am. They're cute. And I think going forward, I might just pick the short books to focus on because they're going to be due back soon. So I thought maybe instead of checking all of them out again, I would only have to check a few out. We'll see about that. But so 80 pages, and it's just, I don't have any notes or anything, I don't think. It's just so simple. I guess, I don't know, if you're writing for teenagers, shouldn't you be writing a bit more? I don't know. Challenger Deep. Let's see, there was a quote that I liked. Where was it? Oh, yes. Oh, I decided I'm going to include spoilers because what's the point of talking about books if you can't talk about what you're actually reading? So here's kind of a spoiler, I don't know. So Caden, he's on a ship. And this is the quote. "Keep me warm, Caden," she whispers, her voice like the tender creak of a sapling branch. "I have no warmth of my own. Only what the sun brings me, and the sun is halfway around the world. Keep me warm." I close my eyes and radiate body heat. It's so nice being there. I don't even mind the splinters. That was very, very nice. So with this book, I am enjoying it. I really am looking forward to kind of the reveal of so he has schizophrenia from what I understand, Caden. And so while he's at school, while he's living his life, he's also living like a second life in his head where he's on a ship in the ocean. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how Neal Shusterman deals with that. Like, does Caden black out at all? Is he literally just doing two things at the same time? I think that might be the case, but I like it. It's, when I said it was my writing style, it's not really my writing style, especially since these chapters are so short, but it is at the same, like, it just feels like the prose feels like artistic. It feels like something that I would do. I have no knowledge of ships, so I would not be writing it like this, but it's really good. I like it. Thanks for the trouble. I'm not liking too much, and it keeps giving me a sore throat. However, I have found a few things to mention. One, so there's this section I read to my mom because it reminded me of her and my dad. Reminded me of her and my dad. So this is how it goes. "My mom and dad loved each other. I know that much. But that's probably the best you could say for them. They loved each other like the ocean loves the shoreline, eating away at it little by little, day after day. They loved each other like the sunlight that makes the plants grow, then scorches the leaves and bakes the moisture from the earth. They loved each other like the seagulls love the bronze statue. They were always shitting all over. So I read that to my mom, and she had like a smile on her face, and I was like, isn't that funny? And she's like, it was really sweet until you said a cuss word. I was like, sweet? Did you even hear what I said? So that's page 36. This quote was funny on page 39. Let's see, where was it exactly? I should have marked the exact line. It was on this side. Uh-oh, now I'm taking up too much time and looking stupid. Where did it go? Oh, it's on the other page. So 38. Like most people with a brain, I've always hated malls. And it's not just the insane specificity of a shop called The Art of Shaving, or the inexplicable cost of the ass-ugly plaids for sale at Burberry. What kind of raving serial killer psychotic would drop $900 on a scarf? Oh, that was hysterical, I thought. So, I don't know. I don't really know how to describe this kind of stuff because it's the character talking. It's not the author, right? But this really stood out to me. So, the boy, Parker, he doesn't speak, but he wants to take this girl, Zelda, to a party. And so he needs to find out where a party is. So he goes to his chess club. And he gets himself into a game with a girl, like a popular girl, that he wants to try and, you know, get some kind of party out of her that he can go to. And next time I'm going to mark the exact line because this is not cool. So she says, there was something that she said. Oh, did I not mark it? Oh, so first of all, she says to him, there's a girl involved, isn't there? I shook my head. A guy then? I shook my head again more emphatically. So it's a girl. I was like, why more emphatically? Why? So I didn't care for that too much. I was like, okay, that's just Parker. It's not Tommy Wallach. It's just Parker being, you know, he's like, no, I'm straight. It's girl. But it wasn't necessary. So that was 56. So on the next page, they're playing chess. And oh my gosh, do I have to read this whole thing? So alright, so this girl, whatever her name is, I don't even know what her name is. Alana? No. Yeah, it was Alana. They say that at like the highest levels, oh yeah, she was talking about race. Oh yes, so she says, but I'm not bringing you anywhere unless you beat me at this game. That's called stakes. I'll even let you go first. And he's like, but I'm black. You're Latino is what you are, son. And that whole white goes first bullshit is straight up racist. Now hurry up and make your move. So I was like, it's just chess. Why are we bringing race into this? So then she goes on this big rant, okay, where she's talking about, they say at like the highest levels, white wins about 56% of the time. Can you believe that shit? I mean, we're looking at a world where white folks win like 95% of the time. At least in chess, we could create a more equitable situation. You know what I'm saying? blah, blah, blah. And what about gender distribution? How many of the pieces up here are women? I don't even know what kind of genitals a rook's rocking, but knights are definitely dudes. Bishops, dudes. The king, dude. Pawns could go either way, I guess, though they sort of look like little dicks. All we ladies have for sure is the queen. I was like, wow. So for someone who thinks that chess pieces are racist, she has no problem gendering these pieces. Like, she doesn't know how these pieces identify. So I was like, just please. And I think this was written in 2016. So already in 3 years, this seems dated, right? I was very annoyed. So she keeps going on about like females in chess or whatever, like the queen or whatever. And then, speaking of which, you know what I've always thought was weird? Checkers. Because anytime you make it through to the other end of the board, you say king me. Because God knows you can say queen me, right? And that means you put another dude on top of your dude. That's some weird sauce right there. So she's so concerned about racism, but she genders the pieces against their will, and then she's straight up homophobic. Like, so that was on 2 separate pages was a homophobic thing from each of these characters. I don't really care for this book at all. Not just because of that. It is giving me a sore throat every time I read it, but it's just like, it's just nothing. I mean, I know how it's going to end, so I guess, you know, I mean, I'm going to finish it. It's just like, but that is not this book. The Astonishing Color of After. Oh my god. I feel so bad about this. So bad. And granted, I'm only 80 pages in or so, and it's got a ways to go, so it can redeem itself. I'm on page 78. I'm pretty mad about the synesthesia thing because it's not synesthesia. She's just, every time she makes a color reference, it makes me want to just gouge out my eyes. If I, in my writing, have any kind of gimmick like this, please, please, somebody tell me that it is driving you mad so that I can either keep it but be aware of it or get rid of it. I'm hoping that she'll mention she has synesthesia. I should go look to make sure that, you know, I'm not wrong about this, but oh my god. So on top of that, it's just, I don't know. So she's visiting her grandparents in Taiwan, and they speak Mandarin, and she only speaks very little of it. And so she's trying to talk to her grandmother, and she's not really getting through to her with what she's saying. My grandmother blinks at me. I grab a pen and pad of paper from the table next to the couch, wondering how on earth to communicate this. Well, am I wrong to think that Taiwan has internet access? Can you not just take your phone out and speak into some kind of translator? So the whole page is spent talking about how she's drawing this, you know, picture that she's trying to... I just think it's a waste of time. I thought it was a big waste of time. I don't know what to say about that other than I'm not enjoying it. It's my least favorite book out of all of these. And that straight up sucks. But it has time to improve. First 15 Lives of Harry August. Very, very good. It keeps me engaged the entire time I'm reading it. There is no problems except for, I want to make a correction when I said there were 3 mistakes on one page. I guess it was more like one mistake. It was missing a period. But then there was a line, and then there was a comma, and then the dialogue started on the next line. And so I thought that was a mistake, but it keeps happening. So I guess there was some kind of formatting in the UK that I've just, obviously, since I haven't read any books really, I didn't know this. I mean, do other books do this? I think it looks really bad. The other thing is that I thought the word should have been that, but it said what, and that's happened twice now, so I guess it's a deliberate thing. I don't understand it. There's also some weird things with, instead of saying I blurted, it just says so blurted, but that was in a sentence. Instead of so I blurted, it just says so blurted. So I guess it's just some kind of style thing. But, very interesting trying to think about this book. Maybe you're not really supposed to think about it too much, about how, so they touched on the multiverse and how every life he lives is like creating a new timeline, and I don't really understand that at all when it comes to a message being sent from the future. Because if every time he lives his life it's different, then how are you really going to prevent something down the line from happening? It's really a mindfuck trying to figure that out. So I'm hoping that Claire North will go more in depth with that, because it's really interesting. I am digging it. The Song of Achilles. I don't know how Madeline Miller writes if she's not in like Greek mythology, because there are no contractions in the writing. So it's like I am this instead of I'm. And so it fits well for the story. So I wanted to read a quote that was just so beautiful. It's in chapter 6 on page 48. And as we swam or played or talked, a feeling would come. It was almost like fear in the way it filled me, rising in my chest. It was almost like tears in how swiftly it came. But it was neither of those, buoyant where they were heavy, bright where they were dull. I had known contentment before, brief snatches of time in which I pursued solitary pleasure, skipping stones or dicing or dreaming, but in truth it had been less a presence than an absence, a laying aside of dread. My father was not near, nor boys. I was not hungry or tired or sick. This feeling was different. I found myself grinning until my cheeks hurt, my scalp prickling till I thought it might lift off my head. My tongue ran away from me, giddy with freedom. This and this and this, I said to him. I did not have to fear that I spoke too much. I did not have to worry that I was too slender or too slow. This and this and this. I taught him how to skip stones, and he taught me how to carve wood. I could feel every nerve in my body, every brush of air against my skin. So that was beautiful, and I was like, how do you say his name? I'm not even gonna try. It's the one that's not Achilles. I was like, wow, I think he's in love. And then I saw that they're both just 12. And I was like, oh, they're only 12 years old at this point. And so now when I'm reading, they're 13. I was like, I don't know how I feel about reading a couple of 13-year-olds, like, you know, being in love. So it's kind of weird. But it is my favorite of all the books currently. So I cannot wait to see what is going to happen. And then finally, Strange the Dreamer. Very, very good. Super good. So good, in fact, that I have nothing negative to say. But, oh, let me see where that one, there's something funny that happened, and I was just like, that is so freaking funny. But I did not mark it. I should buy some tabs. Like real tabs. Where's my thing? Here it is. Oh, so funny. So, it says, I don't have to start way back there. Let's see. The only person besides Thyon who knew what this meant to him, and the only person in the world who might be happy for him. And he nearly wept. I'm going to weep, he thought. And it won't make any sense unless you've read the book, but that was so smart of Laini Taylor. Like, wow. But what was not smart is what I'm about to share. I can't believe how much I'm looking down in this video, darn it. Oh, so I can't remember what page that was, I'm sorry, but on page 57, she says, he dreamed of deserts and gray, empty cities. Am I on the right thing? And imagined he could feel the minutes and hours of his life running through him, as though he were nothing but an hourglass of flesh and bone. And when I saw hourglass, I was like, that's a bit trite, it's cliche. But then she said made of flesh and bone, and I was like, that was really good. Okay, that deserves to be there. So that was page 57. Page 59, okay, 2 pages later. It says, all his life, time had been passing in the only way he knew time to pass, unrushed and unrushable, as sands running through an hourglass, grain by grain. And if the hourglass had been real, then in the bottom and neck, the past and the present, the sands of Laszlo's life would be as gray as his robes, as gray as his eyes, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, but Laini, you just did an hourglass metaphor. And there was no callback to the other one. Like, first Laszlo was the hourglass, but now just time is the hourglass. So, that was annoying. But then, and at that moment, for no reason, he could put, same page 60, and at that moment, for no reason, he could put into words the hourglass shattered. No more the cool gray sift, blah, blah, blah. I don't think I have to say that. He didn't know what, but as surely as one feels the sting of shards when an hourglass tips off a shelf and smashes, he knew that something was happening right now. What I think happened, unless it was just a big oversight, is that Laini Taylor wrote the hourglass metaphor, and she's like, yeah, that was really nice, made of flesh and bone. And so she had it in her head. So 2 pages later, she wrote hourglass again. And that was even better, but she could not bear to part with the first hourglass metaphor. They say kill your darlings for a reason, and that first metaphor should have been nixed. She should have thought of something else. But you know, if I'm 80 pages in or so, 85 I think at this point, and that's like my only critique, other than, you know, too many similes, but they're well written. I think it's pretty darn good. And what must it be like to have a brain that thinks like this kind of creativity? I like, oh, that was another thing with the Astonishing Color of After. I prefer stories that are more realistic, more grounded in, you know, like, it's weird. The first 15 lives of Harry August, I'm enjoying it. Strange the Dreamer, I'm enjoying it. But then we have magical realism. Maybe that's the thing I don't like. Well, it's the color thing. I don't like the color thing. Ooh, anyway. I'm going to continue reading. I already have books picked out for next month, so there's no way I'm doing 7 books next month, because I'm probably going to be still reading some of these. But I will have another video in a couple more days, probably be I don't know, 115 pages in, 120, something like that. So still excited. And thank you for watching. Wish me luck in my endeavor, and I will see you next time.